Hello everyone, this is Faiqa Lakho, Deputy Convener at South Asia Research Institute for Minorities. Today in our exclusive interview series, we have a very well-known guest, Mr. Aman Wadud. Mr. Aman is a well-known human rights lawyer and a Fulbright Fellow at UT School of Law, United States. Welcome Mr. Aman and many congratulations on achieving such prestigious fellowship from US. Very well deserved.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start the interview formally. I have been watching your interviews and your conversations, and it has always given very insightful and meaningful ideas, and you provide some meaningful insights of issues faced by minorities, especially Muslims, and particularly you talked about CAA and how it has affected the Muslims in India. So I'm very curious to know that what has motivated Aman Wadud to choose this path of justice fearlessly, how you ended up being a human rights lawyer.
Uh, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's a great privilege and honor to be interviewed, to be talking to you. I hope everyone is well in Pakistan. Everyone is safe during this COVID, and the Omicron is wreaking havoc all over the world. I sincerely hope everyone there is fine and well. well, I'm surely not an accidental lawyer. I actually wanted to become a civil servant because I wanted to make difference to the lives of people. And I've seen, I was born and brought up in a rural area, but despite that, I have seen how government officers can make change. But over the period of time, when I was studying law, I was preparing for my civil service. So then, while reading Gandhi, Nehru, Maulana Azad, I was very inspired. And when I took up, to read the Constitution, and I sincerely believe that Indian Constitution is an unparalleled document in the history of modern nation. And reading all those books, reading the Constitution made me very opinionated. And I thought that because I'm studying law, I should become a lawyer. That's how I can make difference to the lives of people more than a civil servant, by not giving up my voice, because I always wanted to speak. I have seen the stories, heard the story of persecutions. I have seen how people are discriminated. And like I said, when I started reading the constitutions, I realized that whatever is happening around me is against the values and the ideas which is enshrined in the great document called the Indian Constitution. And that motivated me, inspired me to give up my dream of to become a civil servant and to be a lawyer. I had no idea what I will do. I just had one thing in my mind, that I want to become a source of change. I want to bring difference to the lives of people. So that eventually happened. I studied in Bangalore. I belong from Assam, which is in the northeastern India, bordering Bangladesh. I studied in Bangalore, and then I went back to Delhi to practice law before the Honorable Supreme Court. 2 years in Delhi, I realized that I have to go back to my home state, Assam, if I want to literally touch the lives of people, make difference to the lives. That is when I decided to go back to Assam by the end of 2013. So there, when I went there, there was a massacre that happened where 38 Muslims were gunned down by forest officials and terrorists. So I, provided legal aid to them. I'm fighting for the justice. So then eventually the citizenship cases started coming up. So that's how, I ended up becoming a human rights lawyer. So yeah, that is the story.
So, in the constitutions of South Asian countries, we see that it is written that every minority groups have freedom to practice their faith with harmony. Then why we hardly see the constitution in practice? What are the major root causes of the various kinds of discrimination like mob lynching, hate speeches, rape cases, and other incidences happen on religious places? How these discriminations can be controlled to avoid further exploitation of minority rights?
You need to have an effective constitution, a living constitution. Although I have just roughly gone through the Pakistan and the Bangladesh constitution, I have not read other constitutions of other South Asian countries. But I'm a student of Indian constitution. I call it my soul reading, the Indian constitution. Whenever I take that book, or any commentary on it, any writing on it, I call it my soul reading. It gives me a lot of strength, a lot of motivations. It makes me emotional. So different kind of feeling I have when I read Indian constitution or commentaries, and how the document was founded, the constitutional debate. They're very close to my heart. Ambedkar, Baba Sahib Ambedkar, who was the chairman of this committee which drafted the constitution. So he, on 26th of November 1949, said that even if the constitution is good, but the people, the custodian of the constitution is bad, it will turn out to be a bad constitution. But if the constitution is bad, but the people who will govern the constitution, the custodian of the constitution, who will make the constitution work, if they are good, then it will work. So basically, I don't see problem with the founding document, with the constitution. At least with India, I can say with all responsibility that I don't see anything wrong with it. But the problem is with implementation. How much do we respect that document? How much are we making it work? Granville Austin, who is a scholar of the Indian Constitution, has written 2 authoritative books on it. He writes that it's an inert document. It doesn't work by itself. You need to make it work, right? It does not have hands and legs. It does not work by itself. So it will definitely not work by itself. You talk about Pakistan Constitution. You talk about Bangladesh constitutions. You rightly say that these documents talks about equality, justice, rights of minorities, the rule of law. But then who will make the constitution work? Eventually, we will discuss in our conversations this why the constitution is not working. And first of all, I believe that lack of respect. And then, of course, the politics, the internal politics within the country, which is almost same in all these 3 countries. We were one country before 1947, and although we got, we became separated, but it looks like our problems are almost same. Minorities everywhere has been held to hostage everywhere, and that is one reason that very often rights of minorities are overlooked or intentionally violated. But when you talk about the constitutions, it is not only about the minorities. It is about everyone. A constitution is for everyone, for the entire population of the country. When a constitution does not work, it is not the minorities who just suffer. It is the entire nation that suffer. For example, I think we are far ahead of Pakistan and Bangladesh today. That is only the reason because we had a prime minister, in our national stage for 17 years, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and he built those institutions, the IITs, the IIMs, the medical institutions, and all those institutions which will make the constitution work. It is he who started it, and who, that's how maybe we moved ahead, and your country, Pakistan or Bangladesh, are lying behind than us. I think most important reason being that the founding documents is not being respected, right? There is let us call it a vision document. If you do not work on it, then things will not go ahead. Our founding fathers and subsequently our first prime minister, despite all flaws that we have, Subsequently, those ideas started, eroded. But then in the founding years, in the initial 20 years, I think there was a good stretch, to make this institution work and who will eventually uphold the constitution. So, the bottom line is that you need to work on it. You need to make the constitution work. It is an idea which just cannot work by itself. It is the citizen of the country who will have to make it work. The custodian of the country, the institutions need to uphold the constitution and the values enshrined in it. And when you make it work, then everyone will be safe, including the minorities.
You rightly said that we need people who can, work for the implementation of the constitutions we have. So moving towards our next question, there are many regional and international human rights organizations working for minority rights. Despite of that, the violence against minorities are still crossing all the limits, especially in South Asia and other parts of the world too. What mechanism and steps need to be taken by South Asian minority rights organizations for prevailing peace in the South Asian region?
See, if you talk about the SARC nations, it has millions of problems. I think the way the European Union functions and other intergovernmental organization functions, I think SARC is largely a failure, mostly because of the dispute that we have between the countries, India, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh. Although we are good friends, but there are issues that we differ. So I don't see that SARC as an organization can, I don't know how much it can do to protect the rights of minorities. I believe that we all need to take care of ourselves. The country need to take care of minorities. India need to take care of its own minorities, its own citizens. Pakistan need to take care of its minorities. Bangladesh need to take care of minorities. But these laws have been misused to persecute minorities. Not only persecute minorities, but the entire politics of the country revolve around these laws. Right? I think it can do away with a lot of politics. It can do away protecting minorities. It will go a long way to protect minorities. Similarly, in India, there are several laws. They are bringing love jihad, love jihad laws, cow slaughter laws. There are UAPA, which is anti-terrorism law. These are all mostly used to persecute minorities. This is not the idea. This is not the dream that was envisaged by the founding father of this nation, that this laws will be misused, or even this law should even exist, right? So I think as a South Asian nation, as a SARC nation, whatever you call that organization, I don't know how much they can do. European Union has been pretty successful, but they had their own problem. 78 years ago, the World War and everything. But they have progressed from there. Maybe we are 78 years lying behind. Maybe a century later we can come up with something like European Union, where we'll have European human rights commissions, intergovernmental human rights, inter-American human rights commissions, where you can approach, where countries under this organization can approach. I don't feel that we are in a position to have European human rights commissions. I don't think we can have those commissions. First of all, let us take care of our own citizens, our own minorities. You rightly said that constitution of all these countries have provisions to protect minorities. Why are we not implementing those provisions? Why are not working on this provision? Our constitutions, I repeatedly say it's a great document, but we need to work on it, right? If we work on it, if we take care of our own citizen, then I think maybe someday in a European Court of Commission of Human Rights organization like that might come up. But then before that, I think we need to have stability in our own nations. We need to implement our constitution, work on it, protect our minorities, stop persecuting the minorities in all these nations. Look what happened in Bangladesh. Few months ago, there was a viral news, and then there was attack on mandis, on Hindus, and look, the organizations who were doing it, it had huge support from few religious organizations, I think Jamaat Islami and all. So this kind of thing should stop. The rule of law should be upheld, and the provisions of the constitution need to be worked on, rather than having a common platform which can give justice to minorities in all these countries. I think let us protect our own minorities first.
You talked about joint commission. So we have how is the idea of developing SAARC level South Asian Minority Commission or organization to work on eradication of the inhuman acts or that are happening with minorities in South Asia?
So no, that's what I think. I have partly answered that question. I mean, it's a great idea to have an organization like that, but then there is always tension when there is an organization which has to govern on different countries. There is a tension between sovereignty and human rights. So today I don't see that idea becoming successful. If there is an organization which can take care, if we all these countries, SAARC nations, submit to the idea that let us have a commission to protect the rights of minorities, and then we respect that commission, we respect the rules framed by it, set up laws which can protect the minorities, I'll be more than happy to do it. But let us talk practically. I don't see it happening today, right? Because we already have so much of problem. SAARC is not really successful the way it should have been. So these are all good ideas, but is it becoming successful? I don't see it becoming successful. I think let us talk practically, and the practical idea is that if we follow our own constitution, respective constitutions, I think we are taking care of our people, our citizens, our minorities. So that's what I believe. But the bottom line, answering to your questions, if there is a commission protecting the right of minorities in these SAARC nations, excellent idea. But like I said, I don't think today it looks practical. Yeah.
All right, moving towards our next question. As you are an expert who talks about NRC issues in Assam, apart from this, there are many repressive laws enforced in South Asian countries such as Indian Citizenship Amendment Act, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, and anti-conversion laws having discriminatory impacts on minorities. Not only minorities, but journalists and other human rights activists too, who are raising their voices against policies of the government. What, in your opinion, regarding these laws and how badly they are affecting the rights of minorities?
Well, I believe that all those the name of the legislation that you have taken, it has been weaponized to harass, to abuse, and persecute minorities in some way or other. So it is definitely not helping. These laws are not helping. For example, let us talk about CAA. India allowed refugees from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, who are Hindus, Christians, Jains, basically non-Muslims. If they come to India, India will provide them citizenship. Great, but then why did you not include Ahmadiyas, the Hazara communities? Myanmar is also our neighbor, where the United Nations say the genocide has happened. There are apparently around 40,000 Rohingyas in India, a couple of million all over the world. So why do you discriminate against peoples who are being persecuted? I am not per se against granting citizenship to persecuted communities. Definitely not. If anyone is persecuted, I think India as a great nation do have the responsibility to protect them. But then there is no law in India which is based on religion, right? There is no religion specific laws. The Citizenship Amendment Act is the first legislation which is discriminatory and based on religion. This is surely not helping. This is definitely not in conformity with the Constitution. It violates the Constitution, the Article 14, the right to equality. And also, if you see it rationally, how in the world do you justify leaving out Ahmadiyas of Pakistan, who are one of the most persecuted communities, the Hazara communities of Afghanistan, and whatever is happening today under the Taliban rule. It is not only the non-Muslims who are suffering there. The Muslims are also suffering in Afghanistan. So how do you justify leaving them out? How do you justify leaving the Rohingyas of Myanmar? So I believe that these laws are not in conformity with the Constitution, and whatever other laws you mentioned are basically being weaponized to persecute minorities. Yeah, that's what I believe.
Okay, so my next question is, being a citizen of democratic states, we consider it as a blessing. The democracy is the biggest blessing. But what about those who, despite of being in a democratic country, are marginalized and face discrimination in many aspects, be it employment, be it practicing religion, and also a right to vote? How meaningless the idea of democracy is for them? What would you say on this?
Democracy is, there are many forms of government. Maybe this is the best form of the government. There are a lot of flaws in it, but despite that, it is the best form of the government. But if you see what is happening in Bangladesh, what is happening in Pakistan, in India, we are all there to appease the majority. These are all populist government. This majoritarianism is slowly killing democracy, right? So although despite the fact that we have, although I don't agree with a lot of provisions, I don't believe that any country should be based on religion, and that might offend a lot of Pakistanis. But if my forefathers stayed back in India, my grandfather actually, he didn't attend rallies of Jinnah. He attended rallies of Pandit Nehru, because he believed in his ideas and not in Jinnah's ideas, where he said that Islam is in danger. So I think that is a very flawed idea of establishing a country. India, we are a secular country, a constitutionally secular country. We don't have a state religion, but despite that, there are problems in our country, and I will go back to my idea that we have a document, we have a constitution which is not being implemented in a proper manner. And when you talk about democratic values, which is dwindling day by day, and the right-wing surge all over India, we all got affected by it. Everyone is pandering towards, to appeasing the majority community to get their vote by creating hatred against the minorities. So when this will happen, all democratic ideas will fall. We might be a democracy by name because we vote every 5 years, but then if you see democracy in true meaning, we are not becoming a successful democratic nation, and we are falling apart because of this majoritarianism, because of appeasing the majority community everywhere. Either why is there a blasphemy law? It is to appease the majority, right, against her. And why this law exists? Because you want to appease your majority. Because there are people, the majority community, or within the people from the majority community, think that this is there to protect our religion. And if you do away with it, you will lose that vote back. And that is why no governments dare to do away with it. So that is what we are pandering towards, majoritarianism. I think that is the greatest threat to democracy. And whatever loopholes you have mentioned, However, whatever is happening in all these countries is is because we are we are failing as a democracy.
So, Man, do you think that COVID-19 has aggravated the already difficult situation for underprivileged minorities in South Asia, given that they are treated hatefully and treated as they are the reason for bringing COVID-19 in the region?
I don't know about your country or in Bangladesh or other South Asian countries, but in India, uh, so much have been made out of this Tablighi Jamaat in Nizamuddin. There was so much of hate mongering that went on for months together. All those people, there were cases after cases filed against them. Not one conviction. The court, the Indian judiciary has heavily come down on the agencies, on media for demonizing the Jamaati people, the Tablighi Jamaat. There are Muslims who Muslim businessmen, small time hawkers who sells vegetable, fruits. They were targeted. So because of COVID, if you say that how it affected the minorities, I think in this manner that there was an attempt to segregate them. There was attempt to put blame on them. The entire world is suffering. Day before yesterday, America had 1 million cases. Today, India, more than 1 lakh cases was there in India. Lakhs of people died. You cannot put the blame on, like, there was some, I think, a couple of thousand people in that building. You cannot put all blame on them, right? And Indian judiciary rightly is accusing each and every person against whom these cases were filed during those period. And all these bigoted people, the media persons, are getting exposed every day.
So, moving forward, I want to ask that social media is a medium for providing and sharing useful information. However, it has been used widely to spread the hate against minorities in South Asia. Resultantly, it has multiplied the persecutions. What are your recommendations to address the problem of hate campaigns against minorities on social media platforms?
See, this is another medium which I believe is killing democracy. Social media, either it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, recently GitHub. I believe it's a great medium, but then it is being misused. Each and every medium is being misused, and there is no accountability. If you ask for any suggestions, I think first of all, these social media platform should have some kind of accountability. They cannot allow a call for genocide to go on. They cannot allow social media post where you are abusing women, you are abusing minorities. Say, for example, what happened in Bangladesh during the Durga Puja. It happened through there was some news, some fake news, and that became viral on YouTube. There were lakhs of views there, and then that's how the violence starts spreading all over Bangladesh. Most part of it where Hindus were persecuted. So social media was behind it. Even in Pakistan, this Sri Lankan national who was recently killed, they also used the culprit used social media to call people. This is not only an isolated incident. Everywhere social media is being used to propagate hatred against minorities. The same goes with India. There is a call for genocide, right? And all those videos are circulated through YouTube, through Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. There are Twitter account which is calling for genocide of Muslims, and Twitter is not blocking those accounts. There should be some kind of accountability. Of course, the law, the land should persecute these people. There were FIR last time also where photographs of Muslim women were auctioned by the name of Sulli deal. This time they did another one called Bully deal app, Bully app. So there has been errors this time, but the platform which is called GitHub, where is the accountability on their part? There is no accountability. They cannot let their platform to be used for this bigoted, and to the extent of giving a call for genocide. There is hardly any action from this organization. Twitter hardly block the Twitter handle, which has millions of followers, who are giving a call for genocide day in and day out. They're spreading fake news. WhatsApp, all those fake news, bigoted news are spread through WhatsApp. What is it doing? Where is the accountability? Now, if you cannot go on filing FIR against everyone, right? There are governments who will try to, like I said, try to appease the majority community, and they will not take action. But what are the social media platform doing? There was a report. There was a whistleblower who exposed Facebook, how they are colluding with right-wing parties in India to propagate hatred. They cannot do this. This is how democracy dies. This is one way of killing democracy. And I believe social media is a great platform. Twitter, Facebook is a great platform. But then, there is absolutely no accountability with this organization. Absolutely no accountability.
That's so true. My next question is, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which were documented in 1948, and that was accepted by all member states, is a major declaration that declares that everyone, regardless of race, color, religion, gender, or political or viewpoint, national or social origin, is entitled to basic freedoms as a human being. What are the gaps that still need to be addressed, and how the UN should collaborate with governments to ensure the successful implementation and sustainability of Universal Declaration of Human Rights in South Asian perspective?
I think, by and large, when our constitution was being drafted, it took ideas from Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And other constitution also, I presume, have taken a lot of inspiration from this document. So it is the most translated document, I believe, the most read document also, at least by the lawyers and human rights students. But it has largely succeeded. The ideas have largely succeeded because it made inroads into the constitutions of various countries. But see, at the end of the day, how do you enforce these ideas? Although most of the countries are signatories, but how do you enforce it? United Nations cannot, enforce these ideas on anyone. So enforcement is a big issue. When we have already spoken in strength about our own law, our constitutions, our supreme law, which is not being followed in our own country, be it India, Pakistan, or Bangladesh. And now we are talking about Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It is, ideally it should be binding, but then when you don't follow your own constitution, I really wonder how this great document can be implemented, can be enforced. I really shudder at the thought of thinking what the United Nations can do. I think it has largely failed because there is always this, the tension with sovereignty. Most of the nation, they will not, submit to United Nations, whatever they say is, at the best, these organizations will issue letter, the special rapporteur issues letter, there will be some statement, it become a news, but then it is not very effective. It is not very effective. The countries which do not respect their own law do not adhere to these international customary laws. So I really wonder, I have given a deep thought on it, but I don't understand that. What can I suggest to make these great ideas enforceable? The idea of respecting human being as a human being, to uphold the right to live with dignity. These are ideas which are there in all constitutions. It is specifically mentioned in all constitutions. Dignity is a word which is mentioned in the preamble of the Indian Constitution. In Bangladesh Constitution The right to dignity is a constitutional right. But then, we are not following our own document. And I really wonder that what can we do to follow the UDHR by its letter and spirit. So I really don't understand. I know I'm sorry, I can't answer these questions because I have not found any answer. I believe that we all, like I said, all our constitution is inspired by that document, and we are not even following our constitution.
Yes, you are right, and that's a very thought-provoking idea. That first of all, we have to, focus on our constitutions and then talk about that human rights declaration. So, moving towards our last question.
Let me. I think everything goes parallelly. Everything goes parallelly. I think we need to follow our constitutions. Also follow those ideas and try and it. Like no one should be left without a nationality. That is one of the provisions of the UDHR. But I come from a state, Assam, where Indian nationals are arbitrarily deprived of the nationality. Right? We are not following by those provisions of the UDHR. But effectively, when you talk about the due process in the Indian constitutions, the laws that we follow, right to investigation, right to fair trial, these are all fundamental rights. It's not being followed. Indian citizens are being arbitrarily stripped of their citizenship. That provision is specifically mentioned in the UDHR, but in the Indian laws, the procedure that is being followed, like fair trial and fair investigation, that is not being followed. I think everything moves parallelly. It's not that first let us follow this and we can follow that. No, I think everything moves parallelly. If we respect this idea, like I say, that we are largely inspired by the ideas in the UDHR, because that is the time when Indian constitution was evolving. We are inspired by a lot of countries, US constitution, Irish constitution, and also largely by the UDHR. So I think this following customary human rights, international human rights, Indian constitutions, I think the principles are same. So following one is like following another. So I think it goes parallelly.
Okay, so moving towards our third last question. As you know, the South Asia Research Institute, SARIM, is a regional platform which aims to highlight issues of minorities and invite experts on to talk on the empirical situations and solutions for bringing peace in the region. We have hosted an international conference back in 2019 with the speakers from all over the world. Would you want to join us in Pakistan if our next gathering, if the global pandemic situation upholds?
I really want to come to Pakistan. I want to, I want to see that was the part of our country. I wish we were the same country, but we divided. So I had this dream of going to Bangladesh and Pakistan, and I will be more than happy to come. And I'm in Austin. Every month or every 15 days I go to a Pakistani restaurant here. They're amazing. I in my fridge there is shirmal of Karachi. I really love it. So apart from, of course, visiting Pakistan, I think the foods are amazing and people are amazing. I have heard great things about when our Indian team used to visit Pakistan, the way they were treated with love and respect and adorations. I think people at the end of the day, despite our government, I think people love each other. And I would really, really love to, come to Pakistan, inshallah.
Sure. So you have the privilege of talking at international platforms such as United States Commission. How can you work collaboratively with SARIM for minimizing the issues of minorities in South Asia and raising the issues at global level?
See, I think it is important to talk about the violation of rights. Talk to the government, influence policy, because you are working in Pakistan, influence policy of Pakistan. I think human rights organizations need to do a lot of advocacy work. Human rights organizations everywhere are under the scanner, under the attack of the government because of doing the right thing. I think it is important to collaborate with SARC Nation and share ideas how to protect each other's minorities. I think that's how we can help each other. We can protect each other's rights. So that is what I believe that SARIM can. Like you said, in 2019, you had a convention where you invited people from all over the world, and I'm sure that you had a great discussions and then implement all those ideas that were discussed. Go and talk to your government, how to protect the rights of minorities. Likewise, in India, there are a lot of organizations who should, try and work to uphold the right of minorities. So that's how things works, right?
Okay, so my last question. Okay, I'm not on mute this time. So my last question is that what is your message for the people of South Asia who are victim of the persecution, and also for those who follow you and consider you a role model?
A role model? I don't think I'm a role model.
You are for sure.
And no, I don't consider myself as a role model. But the message would be, I think, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That is what Martin Luther King said. I think it is important that wherever there is violation of right, wherever there is injustice, we need to speak out. We need to get outraged. We need to feel the pain of people whose rights are being violated. Not just sympathize, but empathize with people. Empathize, people who are being persecuted, whose rights are being violated, irrespective of religion, caste, creed, and nationality, and try and make difference to the lives of people in whatever possible way. Because we have education, people who are listening to me, I'm sure your audience are educated. We have the privilege of education. We have the privilege of speaking out, of doing something in our own little way. I'm a lawyer, and I'm trying in my own way to make difference to the lives of people. So I think everyone should try in some or other to make difference to the lives of people. Don't believe in fake news. Don't propagate hatred. Reject the idea of hatred. Love each other, and wherever you see wrong going on, with minorities in your country, or any person, anyone, either minority or majority, wrong is a wrong. Violation of right is a violation of right. So I think we do not get enough outrage. We are complacent. We are all, okay, that if something is going on somewhere, some violation of right is going on somewhere, we don't outrage much, which is a big issue. So, like I said, injustice, I always, that is my favorite quote from Martin Luther King: the injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Today, if there is a gross injustice going on somewhere, tomorrow that can come to your door, right? Even if it doesn't come, I think it is the moral responsibility of every responsible citizen, a human being, to speak against injustice. I think that's what my message would be, and that's what I try to follow, and that's what every person should follow. Respect each other, respect each other dignity, and respect each other right, and speak out against injustice.
Very well said, Mr. Aman. With this, our interview ends here. Thank you so much for taking out time for this interview, and this really means a lot to us. Thank you.